Today is the day we answer the question on everybody's mind, or at least on my mind. I spent a fair amount of time cleaning up and greasing and oiling this vintage sewing machine from 1964. So then the question is, will it actually sew? Alright, dramatic lighting no longer needed. Let's find out. Well, if you remember, I did take the foot off of this machine when I was working on it, so I have to take a few minutes just to put that back on, and I am going to do it in extra fast time because it's not the most exciting thing in the world. Then of course I have to plug in the foot pedal and the power for this machine, and I have to untangle it first. And again, doing this quick because man, this is not the dramatic moment I was hoping for. Alright, one thing I just noticed this machine does not have is its spool holder thingamabobs. I'll go find out what these are actually called. But fortunately, because I have worked with this kind of machine before and I've replaced these before, the last time I bought some I just bought two. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna see if these fit on this machine. They would go on here. If I don't have this, or I couldn't find these, or I don't want to wait to buy some, I could still use this machine today. I just would want to use it with a thread holder instead of just putting it right on the spool holder without any sort of way to hold the thread spool still. Okay, so hopefully this will just pop right on there. And the reason you might want to replace this even if there's one in the machine already is that this foam does deteriorate over time and it can get kind of gnarly. So, you know, it's a very easy thing to replace and give yourself a better sewing experience. And this thing can be used either way. It can be either narrow side toward the thread or wide side toward the thread. The manual for this machine says use the wide side for bigger spools and the narrow side for smaller spools. And I guess this is a bigger spool, so I'm going to use the wide side. And I'm looking at the manual, but there's also this handy dandy threading guide right in here. So if, you know, later I don't feel like getting out the manual, I can use that to help myself remember what to do when I'm threading the machine. Now most sewing machines do thread essentially right to left and then up and down, and you know, I've threaded a whole bunch of Singers and they're all generally the same, so you can kind of use your intuition after you've done it long enough. But it's still nice to have, this is so nice to have that little feature. So one less thing to worry about. Am I missing a guide? And I need a needle. Starting out with a brand new needle. This is a chrome size 90. And this is already pretty, yeah, it's pretty wide. It's maybe a little loose from where I took it off, but for now I'm just going to leave it alone. I actually already have a bobbin for this kind of machine, so I'm just going to drop in the bobbin I already have wound. I'll test the bobbin capabilities in a bit. Oh gosh. Okay, I should maybe be a little less blasé about that. Let's try it anyway though. That's a good sign. If your bobbin thread doesn't raise on the first try, that's not necessarily bad, but that can indicate that there's still something in here that needs to be cleaned or adjusted. It didn't do that, which is great. On this machine, the thing you have to change to get from sewing to winding a bobbin is actually over here. There's a little switch over here. When it's fully up like this, that is the sewing position. Pushed down would be bobbin winding position, and then to get out of it, I think you actually push this to the right or to the left. You push this to the left to make it release. But for right now, it's already in the position I want it to be in. I'm going to go to my center position here. For regular straight stitching, this goes on 3, which is in the middle. And then the selector is on A and the top selector is on K. So that's all the way I want it. I'm going to choose 10 stitches to the inch, which is about 2.5 millimeter, which is kind of your standard. And I'm just screwing with it, probably longer than I should. Power on. And just a little schmut there, but I'll deal with that later. Alright. Ooh, I'm actually a little nervous. Okay, so, like always, foot down. Cling into those thread tails, and since this is the literal first run for this machine, I'm not even going to use the foot pedal at first. I'm just going to turn the hand wheel to make sure everything sounds. I don't hear any grinding, I'm not getting any resistance. And if I had installed the bobbin or the bobbin case incorrectly, I would definitely be having some issues here, but so far sounds good. So I've done like 3 stitches forward, so I'm just going to let go of those tails now and then try stitching. Alright, not the fastest machine in the West, but it could be that the motor needs a little more time to really get comfortable. Also, I'm in kind of an awkward position here with my foot, so I might not be pushing down quite as hard as I could. I'm gonna take a look at the stitching. Yeah, where have a thread cutter? It does not have it. Oh, it does. Okay, I want to show you this feature. Now, a lot of sewing machines from this era actually have kind of a hidden feature, which is a thread cutter back here. It's behind where you're sewing, so you can't see it, but you also can't accidentally, what's harder to accidentally bump into it. I think that's why they put it there. I don't use this a lot, mostly because they're just not usually very sharp anymore, but I'm just going to try this one to see if it works. So to use it, you just bring the thread. Am I right about this? Yep, like that, and then pull. Voila! Thread cutter! With the invisible hidden thread cutter. I'll show you from the actual back angle so you can see what you're looking for. It's basically a slot. Okay, there it is, right there. Boop. And I'll admit, I forget they're there, so I don't really use them that much. But it is a nice little feature for when you've mislaid your little thread cutting scissors at the sewing machine.
It's a little hard to see here, but happy to report that the stitching on the machine looks really good. Be sure to check both the front and the back when you're looking at your stitching, because sometimes things look fine from one side and not from the other.
Alright, first major hurdle. I'm going to try seeing if it'll sew a little faster. If she'll sew a little faster. Will you sew a little faster for me, darling? Let's see. Alright. Oh, also I need to check that the backwards works. So backwards with these machines is really easy. I'm going to set the stitches again, just a couple stitches forward. Backstitch on these machines, I actually love this. I hate that this feature went away. To go backwards with these machines, you just take the lever for the stitch length and you flip it up. I love this because then you've still got 2 hands to do whatever you need to do. And when you're done, you just flip it back down. All right, that was a way more reasonable speed. Still not super speedy, but you know, that was good.
All right, let me explain what you're seeing here. This is kind of embarrassing, but basically I was trying to slide that plate back on that I had slid off. And I initially, you can actually see on the table there, I initially tried using dimes to kind of lift the little spring that's under there, and it didn't work. And eventually I kind of figured out that it should kind of slide onto the track, but from the back to the front. So like what I'm trying to do right now, and what you saw me do just a second ago, was I actually removed the needle plate from the machine so I could get a little more room to work. And basically I'm just trying to figure out how to lift this little piece of metal to get it to slide into the groove. And yes, my cat is yelling at me. Sorry. This took me quite a little bit, so I'm going to speed up from here. But needless to say, I did finally get it, and you can see my celebration there. Finally getting it to work, and then I just reinstalled the needle plate and was able to go on from there.
Alright, second test this machine needs to pass is, can it wind a bobbin? The bobbins for touch and sew machines are very different from every other kind of bobbin. They're really only made for these machines. They are designed to come in apart. You actually unscrew them. I don't unscrew them if I can help it, because I do feel like it's just a little plastic screw in there, and I feel like like basically there's only so many screws and unscrews like in each bobbin, and so I'd rather keep that count as low as possible. So if I do have extra thread on a bobbin and I want the bobbin back, I do actually just unwind it just like I would any other bobbin. But one of the main problems with these machines as they age is that sometimes the little mechanism that allows the bobbin winder to work stops working. There's basically, I think it's a spring in here, and sometimes it just stops working. I have a machine like that right now in the corner in my sewing room, kind of on timeout, because the machine still sews really well. I don't want to give up on it, but I haven't had the time or energy, frankly, to replace that winding mechanism, which I hear is actually not hard to replace, but I just haven't done it yet. So anyway, that's why I was using a bobbin. I wound on a different machine to test the stitching for this machine. So now we're going to see how it winds a bobbin. And one of the things I love about these machines is that you don't wind the bobbin somewhere else on the machine. It's actually wound in place in the bobbin area. But again, that's one of the things that makes it kind of unique, and means that this feature, in most other machines, if your bobbin winder stops working, you can kind of work around it. Although, see my old video for how the alternative isn't always that great. Frankly, if I were in a situation where I had a machine that sewed well but didn't wind a bobbin well, I would honestly probably hopefully have another machine that did wind that bobbin well, and just use that other machine to wind the bobbins versus buying a bobbin winder. It could be there are nice ones, but the ones I tested, I did not like. It was not a good experience for me. Looking here, for some reason in this manual they keep calling the bobbin the reel. It's the same thing. That's just what they're calling it in this instance. I've never really seen it called that anywhere else, but whatever. Okay, we're on A, we're on K, we're in the middle here. Stitch chart is closed. And thread machine. Open slide plate, because you want to watch it. Empty reel is there. Raise presser foot, that's already raised. But if it were down, I'd want to raise it. lead thread from the needle and wind once around the thumb screw, like so. Probably need to turn the machine on. Probably need to put my foot where I can use the thingamabob, and now I'm going to take this button, I'm going to push it down until it clicks. I'm going to cross my fingers, and I am going to start the machine. Ah! Okay, that's my foot, that's not the machine. My foot is just in a really awkward position. Go, go, gadget. Oh my god, it's working! Ah! I know it sounds kind of loud, but it's such a smooth loud. It's not a cracky loud, it's not a snaggy loud. It's a nice smooth loud. And that just makes my heart sing. Look at it go! Okay, what I'm watching for is basically there are these lines that in theory tell you exactly how many yards of thread have been wound on. But the thing I'm looking for is I never want to go wider than this one line. So I've got a line here, I've got a line here. I don't want it to go wider than that line, so I'm just keeping an eye on it. Yeah, let's go. Come on. Again, that's my foot. That's not the machine. I really should have moved where I'm sitting. Come on. Alright, once I even get close to the line, I'm stopping. I'm going to turn this until it comes to the top. I'm going to release this by pushing it to the left. It doesn't look like it's got a lot of room to move, but there is a little gap there. It's going to pop back up, yay, because it's not stuck. And I'm ready to close the side plate. Now, where's all my thread? Right now, my top and my bottom of thread are still connected to each other. So I need to grab anything, my scissors, anything, and just pull that out. And now that is ready to stitch. Now this residue that I'm cleaning off right here, I'm 99% confident is just tape residue. And I could use Goo Gone for this, but you know, as always, I don't like being too harsh on any sewing machine. So instead, I'm just really putting some elbow grease and some rubbing alcohol into it. Basically, I'm gonna show this to one of my students and see if I can convince her that it's a good machine, because I've been loaning her a different machine and she doesn't really like it. I think she thinks because it's an older machine that's why she's having trouble. And I keep trying to tell her that, like, when I started sewing, I jammed my machine all the time too, and it wasn't the machine. It wasn't the machine. I mean, every machine can jam. Every machine will jam, given the opportunity. But as I got better at sewing and stopped making some very common mistakes, as I discarded my bad habits, my machine suddenly got a lot better. It was not the machine, it was me the whole time. Alright, now, oh, that looks so much better. Okay, I figure if it doesn't look grimy, maybe she'll be more likely to think it's nice. That is nice. You're a nice machine. If she doesn't like you, someone else will. You're a beaut. I know when I've edited the videos, I can see that the camera is making this look white. And it's actually a more interesting color than just white. It's a very, very pale blue-green. Very 60s, very fun. Very subtle, very demure. Alright, I think that looks really good. This area here is a little gross. Still. Yeah, that's a little gnarly under there. Again, this looks like just common dirt, really. Again, like this being messy does not affect the machine, but it might affect how your customer, client, or student feels about the machine. And one thing I learned from years of photography was that if people don't feel confident, they're not going to do. Confidence just matters. It helps a lot. That's better. One of the biggest things that you're selling when you're taking someone's picture is your confidence in your ability to do a good job. And if you can't project that, if you can't give your customer that, they kind of freak out. So, anything you can do to make that experience feel the way people want it to. This is part of why I'm such a... I love my scraps because they're perfect for this. Especially nice quilting cotton. Okay, I'm looking for anything else that might be a confidence reducer for this machine, and it looks pretty good. Alright, I do try to actually sew at least part of a project on any machine after I've cleaned it and oiled it and done whatever else I'm going to do with it. And so here I am working away in very sped up time, just sewing with the machine. Sometimes there are things you notice when you're actually trying to complete a project that you wouldn't notice from just sewing a little bit of a sample. And so that's what I'm doing here. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. If this is your first time, thank you for coming. Either way, hope to see you soon.